In this week's edition, we'll be taking a look at enhancing the NYSC service for meaningful impact. You will know that some weeks back there was a report in the media that there was a proposal to the extension of NYSC to 2 years. But in a swift reaction, the federal government dismissed the claims of a proposed extension of the National Youth Service Corps NYSC scheme to 2 years. Reacting to the report, the Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, clarified during a convocation lecture at Lagos State University last Tuesday that it was misquoted. The minister explained that the idea he had suggested was the creation of a special teachers corps for graduates of national colleges of education, not an extension of the NYSC service year. Emphatically, the Minister of Education said there was never a time that he said youth service should be extended to 2 years. Rather, his proposal was that a voluntary optional teacher corps could be established under the NYSC to send teachers to underserved areas for 2 years to address the shortage of teachers in rural areas. The minister also revealed that the government is conducting an audit of teachers employed by Parent Teacher Association in Unity schools and plans to integrate qualified PTA teachers into the federal civil service. Meanwhile, in case you don't know, the NYSC, established in 1973, is a mandatory post-tertiary scheme for integration, reconciliation, and reconstruction of sociocultural bands affected by civil war. Today, it is facing so many challenges like any other programs, resulting into many reforms in ministries, departments, and government and agencies of government. So the NYSC is not left out in these reforms, with so many ideas and programs introduced to improve or enhance its impact. Joining us in the studio to discuss the topic for today, retired Deputy Director, FCTA Education Secretariat, and Secretary General Association of Retired Quality Assurance Evaluators of Nigeria, Victor Uno George. Good morning, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Victoria, please.
Victoria. And the President of Society Groups for Good Governance and publisher, CSO News 24, Comrade Ogachukwu Dominic. Good morning.
Ogaku Dominic.
Ogaku, oh my.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, this is one of the many challenges that the society deals with today. False news. But I just want to ask, supposing that was actually the proposal, what's your thought? Let's start from Mrs. Victoria.
Thank you. Yeah, if actually that is the proposal from the federal government.
It wasn't. The minister
No,
said
I said
it was,
if yes, he said so, but you see, for me, if it was that he said so, I do not think that extending the NYSC to 2 years is the right way to go. There are so many other issues that need to be dealt with, especially our educational system. It doesn't need to be overhauled, but it should be enriched and expanded. So
that's the NYSC scheme that you're talking about.
No, I said that's not the way. It's the educational system that
System
needs
is.
to be enriched and
Not even
expanded.
the NYSC for you.
Not the NYSC, because by the time you go there, you are supposed to have, you are a graduate. You are supposed to have the skills that you already have acquired to enable you live a meaningful and fruitful life.
Mr. Gaku, let me take your point too.
Well, thank you once again for having me. I think I hold a contrary opinion to what she said.
Okay.
When the minister made that declaration, I was kind of taken aback. First, I understand that his thinking is that there's need to rejig the entire scheme, given the fact that it does not really meet up with the original intention, which is a post-war initiative to rehabilitate, reconstruct, and re-engineer the entire nation through integration, so that every part of Nigeria will see themselves as one.
But that wasn't what
That
he said.
was
It
that.
didn't even have anything to do with those
Thank you very much.
ideas of
So, but you are saying that how about if
supposing.
supposedly that was exactly what he meant?
Not what he said. Supposing we Nigerians are
I feel that
clamoring
yes, that's why I say I take a different, because the NYC as a scheme deserves to be rejigged, and to be rejigged means it must be given adequate attention in all ramifications, whether with regards to the time that couples spend in camp, or regards to the initiative itself, to the different empowerment and all the other initiatives that have come with it. So I'm thinking that the minister, whether he was misunderstood or whether the media did not report what he said rightly, I think what that points to is that it's high time we look at the NYC as a scheme thoroughly and try to put it with current realities. It was a post-war initiative, and now we are past that era with the insecurity, with the lack of foodstuff, scarcity of food, and the rest of it. I think the scheme has to take a different outlook altogether.
Till date, what impact do you think the service is making in the face of current realities?
First, whether you like it or not, as a young graduate, you have a platform to at least earn something from government. You have something basic, however you want to look at it, especially now that it's been tallied up to the new minimum wage, even though the minimum wage itself is nothing in reality. But then, from whatever background you're coming from, especially for those who do not have any sponsor, those who have to see themselves through school, people who don't have the kind of the wherewithals in life and all that. So fundamentally, at least they will begin to earn a stipend from government, which is done in other climes. So I'm thinking that even if you have to extend it for people to earn, which means for 2 years you are sure that after leaving school, as long as you have gone to NYSC, you are sure that you are not going to describe yourself as an unemployed person. So that for a start. But then again, there are other aspects of the scheme which over time different director generals have come with different initiatives to see how the scheme can address youth issues, unemployment issues, and the rest of it, how they can integrate. But that has not actually taken the scheme where it should be. So there's supposed to be a total overhaul to reflect some of the basic realities. Like what the minister said is very germane. If this is his position, that inside the NYC there should be another scheme to be able to address lack of teachers, lack of basic education at the grassroots level, but the ability to communicate, like Madam started, the ability for government to own up and to communicate appropriately. It looks like they just wake up from one side of their bed, they throw anything at Nigerians, and when you now begin to want to hold them accountable, they totally begin to, because they discover that they are not well armed, it's not well thought out, it's not been properly thought out before making any pronouncement, and that's been what has bedeviled us as a country.
Apart from this, I'm actually looking at from inception till date of what impact has the NYSC been to Nigeria?
When it started, it had great impact on Nigerians. Let me start from myself. I was in the 6th batch of NYSC. And today, because they do it maybe twice in a year, I can't say, but if we calculate from that point, we have the 51st batch. And in those days, being a copper was something to take pride in. Not just because you have graduated and you are serving the government, but because you were held at a high echelon. People revered you. In fact, they will call you are a government pikin. Today, the coppers, the way I see them, they are the underdogs. Except if we're talking about professionals like perhaps maybe doctors or pharmacists. But even for lawyers, you find that at times they have nowhere to go to. And some of them spend almost the first 6 months looking for somebody to take them in. And then when they do, they are at the mercy of anything. Because they don't get accommodation, they will hardly get enough stipends for transport. And then if we're looking at even the scenario now, 77,000. by the time they pay maybe 30,000, I'm just assuming, for light bill, what is left? So we see that if we want it to go on, then there is a need to really overhaul it in the way that people serving can hold their heads high that they are serving their nation, which is what happened when I was a copper. Just wearing that cap alone, everybody sees you and reveres you. You go to the market, even though they are not going to give you whatever you want to buy free. But they say, this one a government picking, you want something for 5 naira, they'll give you 10 naira worth of what you are buying. And some say, you know, that now government be their papa, now we be government. This, you know, it used to be really overwhelming. Even for transportation, you find that you hardly spend your money on transportation. When you want to go to town, just go and wear your NYSC shirt or cap or anything. The moment somebody sees you, they will give you a ride. And honestly, without any compromise. For today, you find that maybe some of them sleep in classrooms if they are sent to be teachers. Where is their pride? Where is their integrity? Their students are seeing them just lying down in classrooms. They wake up, shake up or find somewhere to clean up. It's not good enough.
I can relate with that because I served in Kebbi State and I know what it was for me. That 1 year was beautiful. I was the president. I was given that kind of treatment. I don't know what is happening there, but I can tell you that over the years, the scheme has been affected on the grounds of insecurity. So you find people tampering with posting or wanting to serve in states they perceived as economically vital states. Apart from not posting core members to troubled states, what other policies do you think that are on the ground to even reform and strengthen the scheme now? I can start with you, madam.
Okay. Yeah. The policies that can be put in place now is first and foremost, this policy was established, like you said, in 1973 to integrate and expose youth to other parts of the nation, not their own local inhabitants or communities, or not for them to serve in towns where they have spent some years. But because of the insecurity, favoritism, and people wanting the best for themselves, it has affected the scheme very much. Because today, instead of people looking forward to serving in places other than their home state or where they have lived or where their parents are, they don't want to go anywhere. They want to serve where they have been because they know the terrain. They are not adventurous anymore. And of course, I don't blame them at times. You send your child somewhere and something happens. Like those 4 youth coppers that were traveling from Akwa Ibom to Sokoto, the government didn't even take responsibility for them when they were kidnapped. I don't know what has become of them, but I think it just fizzled out like that. So when government is instituting a scheme, they should make sure that they take responsibility and own that scheme to the best of their ability, so that anybody in the scheme will give also their best. In those days, coppers worked. They were not just hanging around. And they even took on extra responsibilities because they made them feel belonging. They made them feel revered. And so anybody who is treated and his integrity is maintained will give you the best. But not now, when they don't have somewhere to stay. They don't have anything to do. And even they are begging people, accept me, let me just serve this 1 year because I need the certificate. So you find that they really need to overhaul it. They need to go back to the drawing board so that it is not, oh, I have somebody to let me serve in the juiciest place. No. And then you should serve in a place where you can learn and become a professional, not you take a teacher to go and serve in Ministry of Finance. You take an economics to go and serve in some administrative place and things like that. Put the right pegs in the right holes so that
That's one of the things affecting the NYSC
Yes.
scheme, you will agree with me. And it's not only about government, individuals too in the country, well-placed people who want their children to be at NNPC, Central Bank. Nobody is advocating for let's send them to rural areas to have a meaningful impact there. And you sometimes find that when they are employed, how many people even pay in Abuja, pay core members? Apart from the money that government is paying them. No, so many organizations don't even pay. In this light, what do you think should be done by government in improving the lot and lives of these children? Because they will tell you, you didn't give me anything to survive. How do you want me to have an impact?
Okay, the NYC is a beautiful baby. And like we say, you can't throw away the baby with the bathwater. It's surrounded by a lot of structural issues, challenges, as every other sector in our national life. You know, Nigeria, we have institutions that are actually not meeting up to the reason why they were created. Basically because over time there have been some decay in the entire system, and this rot has led to layers and layers and layers of what we have. For instance, the scheme traditionally was meant to be a rural initiative for integration, not an urban migration. You know, you see that the tendency that people want to go to service, and the first place that is on their mind is in the city center. They are looking at the state capital. Mostly now is Abuja, Lagos, and the rest of it. Nobody is wanting to go to. So the essence of the scheme is defeated, which was for integration. Why? Because of the insecurity in the land. Not necessarily because these guys don't want to go there, but because of the insecurity that has given rise to people becoming scared of their lives. And so you find people wanting to migrate towards the urban center, towards their region, towards their areas and all that. That's one. So I think that with regards to some of the challenges, especially pay package for core members, as you imagine that some core members will leave camp and for 3 months they are yet to find a place of primary assignment. That is wrong. That should not be the case. Even government agencies treat them with so much disdain, without really no regard for them. Look at what she's saying. A core member is an ambassador. He's an ambassador of his school, he's an ambassador of his state, he's an ambassador of whatever agency he's supposed to serve under. So that 1 year, that compulsory 1 year that he's supposed to serve his country, is supposed to be distinct in all ramifications.
Can government actually enforce, whether private or government institutions, not to reject any comment?
It's possible, it's doable, especially for government agencies. And most of these government agencies don't even pay these core members. You agree with me? Most of them don't pay. Again, the core members themselves must be innovative. Let me give you a very simple example. There are people who have come to service, and from service their lives have taken a very beautiful turn in life.
Positive change.
Yes, I remember my friend, due to his community development program, his personal CD that he did in his state of service, he was invited there by President Goodluck Jonathan and was given a scholarship to study, and today he's a big guy, he's even a doctor now. Do you understand? So there are different ways of transformation. You see, creativity is lacking even in the scheme, and I feel that that's one aspect that we must bring back. We must move away from the fact that we have been able to integrate for whatever reason. So we should now begin to look at what are the current needs of Nigeria that this scheme can fill up. One of the reasons why I'm even pushing for a thing like extension is because I feel that, you know, we can use that instead of all this going to the market when it's time for politics. You see them come, market money, this empowerment, they just do all levels of empowerment. Why not collapse it into a regimented or something that is structured like the NYSC? The NYSC is structured in such a way that if at the end of one service year, you now say, okay, see, this service year is supposed to be for 2 years, but for this next 1 year, we are now giving you a lump sum amount, which is the total sum of the entire 1 year, to go and start what you must have learned within the entrepreneurship scheme that must have been developed by government. I think that is a very fine way to go than just leaving them at the end of service year they now go, and then some of them, you go back into poverty after testing a sort of relief, maybe having, some of them even are privileged to serve in places. I have people who have served in places that are very juicy, that have been able to save money, start a business from there, move from there to another place. So I feel that we, like you said, we need to overhaul the scheme entirely. The government needs to bring a think tank that can think through. After 53 years, I think the NYSC deserves to actually have a, not necessarily going back to the fundamentals, which is, there's no need for the major reason why Gowon brought the NYSC was that he discovered that Nigeria was being balkanized in all form. There was a distrust between the north and the south. There was a need for us to now begin to make our brothers across the Niger, handshakes across the Niger and the rest of it. But right now we are not there any longer. So let's rejig and overhaul the scheme to match our current realities. Can core members solve the issue of food scarcity? Yes, they can. If government deploy them in the right fashion. Can they? Yes, they can. How about if you create synthetic farm, modern day farm, and say, okay, these core members that we are deploying to this state, this is going to be the place of their primary assignment. If they are going to spend, and government put a lot of concentration there, rather than thinking in one way. That's why even the initiative that the minister is now saying, okay, his idea was that he wanted to create a core of teachers who can go to the grassroots and help out. There are core members who have gone to some rural areas and have liberated a lot of young people. We have histories of these people who have gone there and they have been the light. Some of them by relationship. I remember a core member who served in one particular locality. After about 10 years, when he became well-heeled with money, he went back to that locality and gave them a health center. So you see, the values are embedded in the scheme. But what we are doing is that what Nigerians, because of the distrust between the people and government, they feel that NYSC is not worth it. In fact, if you go to the street and you want to take a survey, you discover was scrap it. It's not about scrapping it. It's about thinking, what exactly can we do to have a different set of results?
Because I particularly think, well, that's about people who are serving in probably Abuja. I don't know what the comments of the people who are in the rural areas are now. If you ask me, I would want to go back to Kebbi State to serve and work there. I was forcefully pulled out, actually. I wouldn't have minded to stay. If you're just joining us, this is Perspective coming to you live from Capital FM 92.9. We're looking at enhancing the NYSC service scheme for meaningful impact. Please feel free to call the number 0705 3538 929